Now this scientific session 3 has got 4 speakers, and the topic is new frontier and latest trends in medicinal plants. In fact, I feel that after seeing the topic of the speakers, I think it is a continuation of more of a continuation of the previous session. So we have got a presentation from Dr. Sangram Keshridas from Goa, then Durga Shankar Bar from Calcutta, then Eunice Munshi from Ayush, and Kamakshi Saxena from Tamil Nadu. So we have got 1 hour with us. So I expect that each speaker will take around 12 minutes, and after that we can have a question answer session. Then there is a request from the first speaker to take some more time. So I allow that around 15 minutes the first speaker can avail it. So shall we now proceed to the first speaker, Dr. Sangram Keshridas, Professor Dravya Guna, medicinal plant and from pharmacology, Goa. The topic is contemporary issues and challenges of medicinal plant sector. Thank you. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected Matthew, sir, today's chairman of this session. So today's topic is given to me that current research trends in medicinal plant and aromatic plants. So first of all, the motto is
you are not audible to me.
Yeah, health is wealth. So to preserve health, it requires a healthy diet and drug. So for getting these things, it can be said that success in any healthcare system depends on safety, efficacy, potency, and the genuine raw drugs. Without this, you can say that all healthcare system can paralyzed. So, what happens? Some decades before, 2-3 decades before, people are interested towards this traditional system of medicine like Ayurveda, Ayush drugs. But they're believing that these are safe, no harm, there is efficacious, and being very cheaper, abundantly available with cheap price. So people are attracted toward this system of traditional system of medicines. But problem is that according to the demands, the supply of the medicinal plant is not proper. So Ayush Ministry recently declared that around 44% of the medicinal plant based drugs are enhanced in this COVID-19 9 months period. So this also gives the load on this medicinal plant sector. Usually there are more than 10,000 medicinal plant pharmaceutical sector companies are there, and so many practitioners, traditional healers, all are depending on this medicinal plant sector. Likewise, 45% of the share is share in the sense the export is going to the USA. So these are loading to the medicinal plant sector, and it creates a gap between supply and demand. So that supply and demand gap leads to the scarcity of the medicinal plants and leads to substitute and adulteration of these plants. So what are the causes? Yeah, what are the causes of this lack of need of substitution? So one is need of the research trends on the solving the substitute and adulteration, like non-availability of the drugs. Due to non-availability, there are so many other substitution drugs are coming. Then uncertain identity of the drugs. Due to uncertainty of its morphological characters and other things, so many drugs on regional basis it is used. High cost, it is leads to substitution. Geographical distribution, that also leads to this substitution and adulterations. Some plants are found in northern part, some are found in southern part. Like this, on this condition, they are deciding some other plants. You can take examples. The Rasna Pluchia lanceolata, that is in north it is used, but in south India, they are using that Alpinia galanga. In Bengal, we are using Banda Ruxburgi. So this type of controversies and the substitution are accepted. Then adverse drug reactions due to some adverse drug reaction in pregnancy cases and other cases, like you can take example of Basa, Adatura vesica, that causes abortion. So in that condition, that is actually anti-hemorrhagic drug, antitoxic this drug reaction. The requirement of huge quantity or adulteration. So these are some other causes also. Same for this substitute adulterations. Then, so how to select the substitute? Similarly, the potent drugs, similar characters, similar chemical content type of drugs can be taken. The similar rasa, guna, virya, vipak, and karma drugs can be taken. This type of selection will lessen the pressure on single drug, or which plant is rare. On that condition, it will lessen the pressure. So regional availability, some drugs can be accepted. If it, then ethnobotanical peoples, they are using the drugs. Similar pharmacological action, if it having, then it can be taken. And there should be trial on a comparative and parallel clinical trials should be done. So these are some plant-derived products. So ray of solution. So it is advised to take the same plant, other parts for the substitution. If it is leaves, then fruit can be taken. For an example, the root bark is useful part, but nowadays it is as per our API, it is advised to take the other parts, aerial parts also. The root of Sida cordifolia is by classics, but it is permitted to take full plant of the Sida cordifolia. That is also equal potency. So these are some API mentioned official part of the plants, like Premna integrifolia. On that conditions, root is useful part, but here the stem is also permitted. Rubia cordifolia, root is permitted, but nowadays the stems are coming in market. Melina arborea, in the conditions, the part uses the root bark, but here the root and stem bark also allowed. These are some other lists. So these are some parts useful as directly it is substitute. Terminalia cebula, Haritaki, that Terminalia pallida is accepted. They are having similar actions. Vitis vinipera. On that condition, we can Kasmari phala, means Gambhari phal can be used. Melina arborea can be used. These are some other. The root is useful part, but stem cuttings are accepted. So these are some other list of plants. So current trends, how it can be solved, this substitution can be fixed. So microscopic methods, macroscopic methods, physical methods, chemical methods, all are traditionally now useful. So these are phytochemical studies. So on these studies, I can just discuss the frontier, new frontier levels. That is TLC, very cheaper, and next is HPTLC. HPTLC, it is a very sophisticated form of the TLC, and very minute sample size and the solvent it requires, but gives sharp results. Likewise, the advanced areas like HPMC on this HPTLC, FFPC, RPC, OPLC, and EPC. These are some advanced frontier things are there, which helps the detection of an adulteration in small amount of sample. Accuracy of the results are greater than the TLC. Likewise, HPLC, the high performance liquid chromatography. They analyze almost all compounds in the medicinal plants. So its newer trends are MECC, HSCCC, and SCC. So these newer new opportunities, these are the new opportunities for the separation of the same specific herbal medicines. Then GC, gas chromatography, or also called as GLC, that used for identification, quantification of the volatile oil, determines the structure of the molecular weight and the gaseous elements present. Then newer trends on it is SHS, then DHS like things are there. Likewise, we are using NIR, NIR also quantitative and qualitative characterization of the natural products, their constitutions. Then C, capillary electrophoresis also useful. NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy, used for plant extracts, for quality control, authentication, determination of the geographical origin, and detecting the adulteration of the plants. Then mass spectroscopy, this is the most sensitive selective methods for the molecular analysis. Give information about the molecular weight and the some molecules, about the molecules. Then DNA barcoding, that also this technique helps the species level of identification used for identifying known species by comparing the other unique barcodes. Likewise, metabolomics, that is also useful for this solution, solve these problems. Thus, complete metabolic fingerprint can obtain from this metabolomics. Then, nanotechnology, biotechnology, we can take the help of other sister concern departments, that biotechnology, that nanotechnology, and other departments, cell biology, for this deciding these problems. So from biotechnology, we can take help of multiplication of the plants. If it is a rare plant, it can be multiplied. Genetic enhancement, genetic transformation, then in vitro generation, then developing the secondary metabolites, cryopreservation. If it is rare plant, it can be preserved on nitrogen oxide gas. So nitrous oxide gas. Then enhancing the lignin percent as per your desiring, you can enhance the percentage. Increase the oil content as per your desire. Increasing marker compounds. Increasing tolerance of heat, pest, and drought to subside, to save from the these causes. And developing high yield varieties. We can develop high yield varieties. That's also need of the hour. Then encouraging non-conventional breeding, X micropropagation, marker-assisted breeding, molecular farming, high-yield genetically modified species like Withenia, the Isabgol, Giloy, Kalmek, Madhunasini, that aloe vera. These are developed at Anand, CMF Anand. So from likewise from nanotechnology, these are new frontiers. These are also giving so many advantages. And through micro size samples, we can develop, or it should be helpful. Then DNA fingerprinting, that is also useful for identification. Phytochemically undistinguishable genius drugs, or substitute adulteration drugs can be. The advantage is DNA finger, so many advantages are there. Then marker assisted breeding, that also helpful to subside. These are some commonly used type of genetic markers. RFLC, AFLC, like things are there. So you can take help from these persons. They can help us. So our conclusion, in conclusion, I can say, so all these techniques, analytical methods discussed, is some have different advantages over each other. So intention is to identify and get the genuine drugs to fill the gap between demand and supply by cultivating high-yielding, disease-resistant medicinal plants varieties. In Ayurveda, the medicinal plant administered as a whole and not isolated compounds. So while the researchers are busy in isolating the active principles, compounds from the plant, the need of the hour is to understand the drug and its components as a whole and the way it works synergistically rather than the compound in isolation. So safety, one thing I also think about the safety of the transgenic medicinal plants should also given attention at the time of use. So if we identify the suitable substitute of useful plants, plant parts, then it can save the plants from unnecessary destruction. So thank you. So I am thankful to NMPB and the ASSOCHAM for this giving me this opportunity. I'm thankful to Matthew sir and Mrs. Parminder Ajit Singh Kaur Madam for this giving opportunity. Thank you.
Hello. Dr. Bar, you can continue the presentation.
Variety pendula. Color or texture of the bark the same story can be repeated for Rauwolfia serpentina, colloquially known as Saptogandha. Again, a very important drug used by the homeopaths as well as by Ayurvedic physicians. But if you go to the market and ask for Rauwolfia, you will get plenty. But most of those Rauwolfia is not suitable for preparation of medicine, as they are not Rauwolfia serpentina. I again repeat, they are not Rauwolfia serpentina, but some other species of Rauwolfia. Maybe Rauwolfia verticillata or a closely allied species of Rauwolfia serpentina, but devoid of required alkaloids. Only in the previous lecture we are hearing that in Uttarakhand, Rauwolfia serpentina is being cultivated. For supplying correct quality of botanical drugs. That is required very much. But even if the plant is genuine, one may not get medicine of proper quality still. Why? The collected plant material may have been collected from immature plants. Plants prepared and stored so many important chemicals essential for preparation of a medicine, but they can do that only when they are mature enough. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is Atropa belladonna. Let us take an example of Atropa belladonna, a very small plant, but having immense importance in the field of medicine. Plant of first year's growth is almost devoid of required alkaloids, so we require older, mature plant to prepare a medicine. But do the plant suppliers or the manufacturers vigilant enough to test the plants for the chemical contents? Next slide, please. Please, next slide, please. Hello. Next slide, please. You see, the estimation of total alkaloid content in belladonna mother tincture. You see that sample 2 and 4 are definitely substandard. As IP recommendation is, it should be 0.3 at least. And whereas sample 2 contains 0.1840 gram and 0.4 contains 0.0187. It's too low. So if we use that plant, I think the medicine prepared from that is not good. So it is understood that for drugs of botanical origin, though most of the pharmacopoeia still depend on classical, morphological, or microscopic identification of the species, which is not sufficient to prove the quality of the raw material, proper quantitative identification of chemical constituents of a plant material also plays a very important role to find if the same has been collected at proper maturity, as well as from correct place of growth. It is quite easy to understand that if a botanical drug is devoid of some important chemical constituents or contains very little amount of the same, it may not be able, or better to say, will not exhibit full medicinal characteristics. Next slide, please. This Cinchona officinalis. The case of Cinchona is a classical example for the same. Bark of this plant, Cinchona officinalis, collected from Nilgiri region of our country, is less bitter and contains lesser quantity of important alkaloids like quinine, etc. than the bark of the same plant grown in the Darjeeling district of West Bengal. We now know that biosynthesis of different chemicals in a plant depend on so many factors. The climatic factor, the ecological variation are very important among them. Let us think about our own Darjeeling tea. The exquisite flavor of Darjeeling tea is not produced in leaf of any other tree plant grown elsewhere. So to be sure about the quality of any botanical drug substance, one must try to collect it from natural environment at proper time, as well as examine it chemically to become sure that about presence of essential chemical constituents in it. We're hearing about propagation of medicinal plants and trying to cultivate it in different regions. I don't know. It should be tested first, whether they contain the chemical constituents right quantity or not. For example, I told that in Cinchona itself, the Cinchona grows in the Nilgiri region also, but they contain lesser quantity of alkaloid. So we must try, if we try to cultivate some plant in some other region, we must be sure that it should contain the proper chemical constituents. But even though Cinchona tree grows in our native state of West Bengal, still the alkaloid content of most of the market sample of the bark will show to contain much less than the standard quantity of alkaloid, where it should be at least 6%. But why? I was telling that Cinchona grown in the Darjeeling district is better than Cinchona grown in the Nilgiris. But again, I'm saying that in the market sample, we'll find that alkaloid content is not that much. Why that is? This happens principally because of collection of immature bark with a view of making faster money and at the cost of quality. If we try to collect bark, immature bark, that will definitely not good for people making of medicine. Next, please. Next page, please. Here you'll find, no, previous one, please. Previous one. Here you'll find that total alkaloid content in Cinchona officinalis mother tincture. Sample number 3 contains 3.1647 only %, where it should be minimum 6. So 1, 2, 4 is right, but third sample fails. Again, let us look at Asafoetida. The household name Hing or Hingu is known to almost everybody. Asafoetida is basically a gum resin obtained from the root of plant Ferula asafoetida. Asafoetida finds many use in so-called allopathic medicines, in Ayurvedic medicines, as well as in homeopathic medicines. Next slide, please. This is the Asafoetida plant. When the pharmacopoeia says that Asafoetida should contain at least 50% alcohol-soluble contents, what we find in reality that most of the Asafoetida available in the market contains much lesser quantity of alcohol-soluble ingredient and hence is unsuitable for use in medicine. Next slide, please. This is solid matter content. It should be at least 50%. And you find that how much quantity is, how it is varying from 0.5 to 0.03. This variation. So we should select proper quality of Asafoetida for making a medicine. Another menace in preparing pharmaceutical products from botanical drugs is the presence of insecticides and fungicides in the botanical drugs. If we are not vigilant enough, do not test for those things, we may get the devil, the poison in place of the genuine medicine. The time is very short. It is unnecessary to prolong the list anymore. We understand the problem, but what is the solution? Next slide. Next, please. The demand is rising with increase in population. But at the same time, many important botanical drugs are on the verge of extinction. It is essentially required to preserve and cultivate them, and that by following good agricultural practice, GAP, a very term which is gaining importance today in the field of agriculture. So as the time is short, I should wish to conclude. With these words, I wish to conclude, and I thank everybody for their patient hearing. Next lesson. Thank you.
Dr. Yunus Munshi. Dr. Munshi is a regional research institute of Unani Medicine, Central Council for Research in Unani Medicine, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. And I think he is known in this field by all of the people who are working in the direction of medicinal plants, as well as of the Unani medicine. So may I request Dr. Yunus Munshi, kindly you start your presentation, and as soon as the connectivity problem of the session chair will be over, I hope he will be joining. I hope he's listening, but there might be some problem in the connectivity. So may I request Dr. Munshi to please take on the dais.
Respected chair of the session, Dr. Matthews, respected Professor Mazumdar, and revered guests offline and online. We should say good evening, I think so. It is not good afternoon now. So the main topic today of my presentation is how the medicinal plants are being exploited in Kashmir Himalayas. Since we have online, I think Dr. Murugeshwaran also has worked in Kashmir. We have people from Kashmir, from SCOST, Faculty of Forestry, and then we have Professor Bilal Sahab. They will agree with me that much more exploitation comes from a few sectors, which I will try to explain. And I take this moment to inform you, this is my personal analysis. This has nothing to do with the government data, or although I am a government official, but this has nothing to do with government data or this is unbiased analysis of a researcher, which I am, as I have worked in Kashmir for almost 20 years in the field of Unani medicine. And I had been basically part of survey of medicinal plants there. I used to go for multi-day programs, multi-day tour programs of survey of medicinal plants with our survey of medicinal plants unit. So what I have experienced, that experience I want to share, being also an executive member of Environmental Council of J&K, which is an NGO. So these are all environmental concerns. This has nothing to do with the research or other things. Being a consumer myself, being a physician of Unani medicine, I am a grassroots consumer. I need herbs. I need quality herbs. I need quality products from the industries, quality herbs from the herbalists, which are very much not available to the extent which we should expect. So my brief introduction has been given. I am heading the Regional Research Institute of Unani Medicine under Central Council for Research in Unani Medicine, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India in Calcutta. I have joined as head in 2018, although I am working here right from 2015. Shall we go to the slide, main slide? Sanjay ji? So what are NTFC, or just NTFC, or non-timber forest produce, we say it, or we may call it herbal wealth of the forests. You know that Sasuria costas is known as kot in Kashmiri, and we were having Kot Act right from Maharaja's time. In 19th century, late 19th century, an act was introduced which was called as Kot Act. You can imagine how environment friendly Maharaja was. At that time, he was very much particular in protecting the medicinal plant wealth of Kashmir. So he introduced Kot Act, which was amended later on by the successive governments. But the main act was that nobody can have there was list of plants. Nobody could have those cultivated even. Nobody can cultivate them. Not to say of keeping those medicinal plants at home. So but this was late 19th century. Maharajas introduced that Kot Act, which was amended from time to time. So you can go ahead. Sanjay, you can go ahead, please. Click. So back. So non-timber forest produces medicinal plants, wild vegetables, exotic plants, and our main concern is medicinal and aromatic plants. Please, next. So geographical location, J&K and even West Bengal is having one characteristics that we have alpines, we have highland pastures, we have low-lying alpines, we have tropical region also in Jammu, we have cold desert. We were having cold desert Ladakh, which was separated recently as a union territory. So we have multi-dimensional medicinal plants, presence of multi-dimensional medicinal plants in Kashmir. Will you please go? Again, this I have discussed subtropic alpines, then we have subalpines, then we have cold desert. This has been now removed from J&K. So now historical, which I have told you that Lawrence in his book The Valley of Kashmir, which was published in late 19th century, he has told that there was 4,50,000 rupees annual income from the medicinal plants, and 95,000 rupees were from Sasuria only. Sasuria is known as Kust in Unani, and Kot it is called in Kashmiri. At that time, 1 kg of Sasuria costed just 5 paisa. So you might see how wealthy the state was and how economy depended on the medicinal plants. Can go ahead. So present cost, if we see 500 rupees per kg, you can imagine how much money the state was earning. Then there was a Kot Act, which I already discussed, which was passed by Maharaja himself, and then it has been now diluted. Now you can keep the medicinal plants. There are certain licensed people who can extract them. But my concern is that some people, some agencies which are more responsible for the exploitation, different agencies, different communities, and you will be very much this. You know, in Kashmir we have nomads. Nomads are the tribal people who shift from hot region, Jammu region, to highland pastures along with their cattle towards the Himalayas, towards the higher reaches of the Kashmir during summers. And they then so main exploiters, what I have seen, what I have observed. Sanjay ji, just one more click. Sanjay, just click. Stop. That is why I needed to control it. So exploitation by nomads is, you see, we don't have the separate grazing areas and separate protected areas. They are allowed to go anywhere, and you will not believe, they just pay 25 paisa per family as a license fees. That 25 paisa was kept by Maharaja in late 19th century. And it is this time also 25 paisa. So that 25 paisa allows them to go for the grazing. Pre 47, it was that Gilgit, Baltistan, Muzaffarabad, etc., Pakistan area of Kashmir. But now it has been limited to the boundaries. So they go to the higher altitudes. And what is the problem? The cattle eat the upper part of the medicinal plant. So there will be no flowering, no fruit, no seed. Then the shepherd, or you may say that the nomad goes and he extracts the root. So naturally there will be no growth. And I have seen, I visited just after a gap of 5 or 10 years, when we visit the area, you can't see any. We have seen the medicinal plants right from I should say that 40 kilometers away from the 40 or 60 kilometers away from Srinagar city. But presently you can't see it at least up to 200 kilometers out of the Srinagar city. It is because of these things which have exploited the medicinal plant wealth. And when they come, their gunny bags are filled up and nobody even dares to touch them. Nobody goes for the checking, frisking of their gunny bags so that they could have been brought to the book for extracting this plant wealth from the Kashmir. And when they reach Jammu, the truckloads, the people from Chandigarh, people from Amritsar, people from Delhi are waiting for them when they come there, and they fill up the trucks and they leave the area. And those medicinal plants then come in the market in the Amritsar, in Khari Bauli of Delhi. So this is the scenario of nomads. They are the main exploiters of the medicinal plants because that goes unnoticed. Then the second is scientific community. What I have analyzed, we have 11 universities in Jammu and Kashmir, at least 3 departments: botany, chemistry, biochemistry, pharmacology. These 4 departments do research in medicinal plants. If every department is having 10 students of PhD who are working on medicinal plants, each candidate needs 1 kg of medicinal plant at least. So in 11 universities, in one university you have 30 students, in 11 universities you have 300 students. That means 300 kg of medicinal plants every year. They get it from the wild. This is the main exploitation. And this exploitation gets unnoticed. Nobody wants to hear you. I am myself a researcher. And when I talk in the scientific community regarding this thing, nobody is ready to hear it. No, this is the need of hour. We have to go for the research. But there are remedies also. Then there are exploitation from the government agencies. They give the license, I say license to kill the forests. It is not license for extraction because they are not being trained how to extract. As Bilal Sahab was telling that there is excessive extraction, there is then habitat destruction. Then they should have been trained that how to preserve the germplasm. If they are extracting, they go wildly, they go ahead, they employ the local population. You just give us so much of Sasuria cost extractor, will pay you such. They don't go themselves and nobody trains them. So government should have control over it. And this, if Bilal Sahab is online, I don't think he is. This is his duty because he's RCFC director there or there. He can approach the government and give the ideas how they can collaborate with the government and give training to the people who are extracting the medicinal plants. Now, what are the remedies, please? Yes. Proper planning. That is just, I have seen, I had been to US once and I have seen that they have protected areas. Nobody can go there. We need to have grazing areas separate and protected areas separate. I have seen in Kashmir, if you do not touch a whole area for longer time, vegetation automatically comes out. You don't have to, you don't need to plant them. It automatically comes out. So it is just, you have to protect it. You have to keep protected areas. Since we have people from forestry, IFS people over here, they might be online. They can propose to the government because government listens to them. They are bureaucrats, they are technocrats of the forestry department. They can plan rightly, have grazing grounds separate from the protected areas, and these areas should be just limited to have a germplasm only. so that people can, that there is one scheme also, in situ conservation and ex situ cultivation. Those people can be, those living, there is a Forest Act that tribal people have every right to the forest. But now recently one more news came that now the J&K government has allowed every activity in the forest areas, which is totally devastating. And we have seen yesterday that glacier came down, wiping out all the, it is because if nature is having its own planning. If we play with the nature, nature plays back, and that is a havoc. When nature plays back, that is a disaster. And we are ourselves playing with the nature. We are just, we need the dams, but there needs a proper planning. You need ecologists, you need environmentalists to take on board, but nobody listens to them. If they are saying something, government always goes opposed to them. Although I am in the government sector, I should not have done this. But now I have come through a news which I think it should be resented from the departments, that forests in J&K can be used for every activity, and that is a dangerous part of it. And then for this research activities, every university has a land. They can grow the medicinal plants. Whatever medicinal plants you are growing, you can go for the experimentation on those only. Why you are going to the wild, and why you are extracting from the wild? You can have it in your own laboratory. You can go for the tissue culture. You can go for the lab cultivation of the plants, and then go for the experimentation. That can help out. And that I have myself seen students going to the hills and jungles and collecting the medicinal plants. This should be prohibited by the government. That's all from my desk. I hope that I could project my cause of the environment, cause of the herbal medicine, which is very important to have ex situ cultivation and in situ conservation. Thank you very much for patient listening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Munshi. It's really a very good talk from your end. And I must say that, yes, these are the real points which must be taken into consideration for the conservation of the species, particularly as he has very rightly mentioned, that if the collection is unscientific, then obviously the species will become extinct. And that is happening in many parts of our country. We have such a mega biodiversity resource we do have. But if we cannot go for proper scientific collection, proper scientific extraction, then obviously there will be a problem. I would like to assure Dr. Munshi that already even our small regional facilitation center, we have already thinking for, I have given a proposal to the ministry, to the National Medicinal Plant Board, that why not let us develop some sector skills council, where not only we have already started giving the skill training for the quality planting material. That means the good agricultural practice. Apart from that, which is most important, is that the collectors are also there. We cannot just in one day close the business of collection. That is not possible, neither it is desirable also, because it will take some time, so that we can go for full-fledged cultivation of that list demand, which has a high demand. So for that, what we have thought of is that we should give sector skill, through a sector skill council, we should provide a training, scientific training for collection and extraction. Then obviously we can address this issue. Government of India is giving maximum stresses for the sector skills council, the skill development, and I hope this is also another very important skills which needs to be recognized by the industry for proper collection. So thank you very much for a very important points that you have raised, and for the policy point of view also. Now, I request Dr. Kamalakshi Saxena, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu, to kindly present her address, through, obviously she is from Tamil Nadu, she is presenting. So on the virtual platform, we'll be listening. So far we have listened Dr. Bhaur and Dr. Munshi physically in our hall, but now also we will be having it through virtual mode. Thank you. Dr. Kamalakshi Saxena, please.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. and namaste and good evening, everyone. Thanks, everyone, and for giving me this opportunity to be present in this international conference through virtual platform. I am feeling extremely privileged to exchange my views through this virtual platform, and I hope it would be useful for everyone. As we are facing and going through a very difficult phase due to the massive spread of coronavirus. So everyone in all over world is facing a problem, or they are finding it difficult to cope up with coronavirus situation and feeling depressed. And globally, we all are trying to discover a very accurate and effective therapeutic solution. So the persons with low immunity are the easy target for this disease, or the patients with a preclinical history, or children and elderly people, because of their low immunity that makes them more vulnerable towards this disease. So Ministry of Ayush has already released guidelines for self-care by using herbs, natural herbal medicines or natural herbs to prevent and boost the immunity level, because these medicines are very, very useful in boosting or in stimulating the immune system because of their antiviral properties. Why medicinal plants? Because medicinal plants, the use of these plants have been going on since ancient times, and these can also be considered as the source of or the origin of medicine, because the compounds which we obtain from the medicinal plants are actually considered or are actually the source of compounds for the many drugs. So they can also be considered as the origin of medicines, as until 18th century, the therapeutic properties of plants, their effects, the method of treatments were known, but the main bioactive compounds were quite unknown. So here are a few very popular natural herbs and very favorite medicinal plants, which are mostly available in all the Indian kitchen, like basil, black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, ginger, neem, turmeric, etc. So I'm describing a little bit about these herbs, as Ocimum sanctum, which is already which has a very renowned position due to its medicinal properties in Ayurvedic system, or because it is very antibacterial or anti-carcinogenic, antiviral. There is one study in SSNRN, that is Social Science Research Network, Elsevier. They studied the binding affinity of 7 photophilic compounds from Tulsi and with the SARS-CoV receptors. So they found it that Tulsi extract is very effective against the COVID-19 receptor, and it can inhibit the replication of SARS-CoV virus. The main ingredients or the main antiviral ingredients of which we can obtain from the Ocimum sanctum, those are apigenin and ursolic acid. Next is Piper nigrum, which is also has very renowned place due to its more than 600 different phytochemicals, and the key alkaloid component, which is piperine and 10 other piperamides, are very useful, and they there are many reports which confirms its effect on the viral infection, especially when it is in the respiratory tract infection. So it could be also helpful to inhibit the COVID-19 virus, because it is also a respiratory tract infection. Elateria cardamom, although this is known as the queen of spices and it is very effective due to its cancer-reducing properties, diindole methane and indole 3-carbinol, these are highly effective in reducing the size and weight of tumors and papillomas. Cinnamon, which is super powerful in anti-inflammatory because of having the anti-inflammatory properties, especially in elderly people, or it is especially effective in the age-related inflammatory inflammatory problems. Next one is Gingiber officinale, a very traditional herbal medicine, and it is used in multiple, or it is used in n number of diseases due to its number of phytochemicals, and it is also used in mainly it inhibits the viral binding. It is mainly fresh ginger extract is mainly reported to it is mainly reported useful to inhibit the human respiratory syncytial virus induced plaque formation. So it because it inhibits the virus binding and its internalization and helps in stimulating mucosal cells to support the IFN beta, which is supposed to reduce the viral replication. So it is also very useful in the in the fight of COVID-19. As a directa indica, it is found everywhere, and almost every part of this tree is useful. The main phytochemicals which are available, these are limonoids and terpene, and this is mainly anti-malarial, antibacterial, antifungal, and it has multiple immunomodulatory effects. So it is useful everywhere, but the excessive amount of azadirachta has also been reported some negative effects or adverse effect. Yeah, next one is Curcuma longa, which is also known as the cleanser of, or it functions as the natural cleanser because the main compound of curcumin, it relieves congestion, and that is why it fights against the respiratory diseases. So it can be also helpful because it inhibits the RNA replication. So it can be also useful in fighting against coronavirus. If we talk about latest trends in the medicinal plants, so because in the present scenario, everything is changed worldwide, so people are more inclined towards the plant-based healthcare products. So the healthcare products, they are very much popular, or they are gaining popularity exponentially worldwide in the current scenario, and people are more and more inclined towards the naturopathy or the traditional types of medicinal system, and because of this we can say that Ayurvedic tourists or the visitors which are coming for the treatment through the naturopathy or through the Ayurvedic procedures, they are actually opening the avenues for the Ayurvedic tourists. This is the era of computers, so we can't ignore this technology, and actually we are very much using this technology. So computational approaches towards drug discovery by using artificial intelligence and data analysis could be very helpful in drug discovery or drug designing. So bioinformatics can be called as the emerging trend in the exploration and development of drugs. And if one wants to access the Indian traditional medicinal tools, they can visit IMPAT, which is openly accessible. Because of the application of drug, by using the application of drug design technology, very powerful or new and safe affordable medicines can be generated because there is a shift from monosubstance to multi-drug or multi-target therapy. So trends of global research, we can say earlier until 18th century, that therapeutic potential of plants were known, treatment and methods were known, effects were known, but not the bioactive compounds. So these days, the research is on the search for new medicines or active compounds and their chemical modifications, but not on the cultivation and domestication of plant species, which I guess Dr. Munshi has discussed just now. And the conservation of germ plasm and the conservation of the medicinal plants is very important if we want to have the sustainable medicinal plant branches. Then we have to conserve, or we have to cultivate and domesticate those plant species. Here are some links for Indian medicinal plants, where the Indian medicinal, this is the, you can find the Indian medicinal plants, their phytochemical compounds and other things. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to the organizers.
Our session chair, Dr. J.T. Matthews, is unable to be with in connections with this program due to some internet connectivity. So I have to take up the duty of chairing the session for the rest three of our speakers. And I would like to just, since it is a customary, Dr. Dash has mentioned something, some of the, modern instrumentations. He has referred how we can go for the recognitions of the, or the identification and quantification of the active components of the medicinal plants, particularly used for the, as a drug, as well as Dr. Durga Shankar Bhaur, who has very nicely touched upon particularly the importance of medicinal plants in homeopathy, and particularly, I must mention that I have never heard that what are the difficulties in faced by the homeopathic industry, so that drug manufacturing industry, how the dust components or the absence of active components, and particularly as I find that as it is happening botanical garden as well, that wherever it has been collected, a lot of insecticide and pesticides were present. So these are the really issues which we should look into if we want to develop the real need of the industry. We want to cater that, then we have to develop it. And Dr. Munshi, already I have touched upon the points, very relevant points of scientific collection. And then the last, Kamakshi Saxena, Dr. Kamakshi Saxena, I'm very sorry, probably initially I might not have pronounced correctly her name. So Dr. Saxena, Kamakshi Saxena, lastly, she has presented, and she has presented the importance of cinnamon, ginger, curcumam, and also the very important Ayurvedic natural remedies, which we call Ayurvedic tourists are coming. So these are very important issues she has touched upon. And also I must say that these, particularly cinnamon, ginger, these are widely used during COVID-19 to boost up our, immunity for fighting against COVID-19. And really, those people are not so concerned with using this sort of very easily available, but very important Ayurvedic component, I must say, or the medicinal plant components. Now, she has touched upon that. So these are the deliberations today that we have in this last session, scientific session 3, where new frontier or latest trends in medicinal plants have been discussed. And I must thank all the speakers for their valuable speech, as well as for highlighting very important aspects of medicinal plants. Now, may I request Dr. Sanjoy Bala, our Regional Director of Regional Facilitation Center, National Medicinal Plant Board, Jadavpur University, to please hand over a small memento to Dr. Durga Shankar Bhaur. This is only the opportunity that we are getting when there is a physical presence of the speaker. Already we got the opportunity to facilitate Dr. Yunus Munshi. So now we take this opportunity to facilitate Dr. Durga Shankar Bhaur. Thank you very much. And this is the plaque. With this, online is very difficult. You know, the virtual platform, sometimes this is the problem. And, you know, the more problem is when we are trying to combine the two, that is the physical mode as well as the virtual mode. And this is also another difficulty. Apart from, so for the connectivity and others, the main difficulty lies here also. We would like to facilitate all our speakers, all our dignitaries, but it is very, you know, unfortunate that we have to take again the e-help of sending our, you know, compliments to them. Thank you all, and I will request Dr. Sanjoy Bala just to say just to take up the session as a concluding remarks of your, and let us call it a day then.
Thank you, sir. So as all of us know, in case of, you know, using or combining both virtual and physical, we face some difficulty. Even then, we could organize it more or less smoothly. The last chair session was to be organized by Dr. J.T. Mathu, but on the halfway, he has to take over it to Professor Ashish Mundar because of some difficulty. But anyway, we have completed nicely, and all of you are there. So we are very much thankful to all the participants, offline and online, who have joined. And next 2 days also we will be there. So as the program title is there, it's not only medicinal plants. We are discussing beyond medicinal plant. That is, as all of us know, is prevention is better than cure. So if we can immune ourselves with using or taking medicinal plant, maybe as a regular practice or as a nutrient or any other form, so that will be very much helpful to boost our immune system, and will be healthy, so that we can combat even COVID-19 or such other viruses and all. So we must thank all of you once again, and we will resume our program, both virtual hall tomorrow. There will be separate program for both the virtual halls. So we'll conclude the day. Thank you so much.